Welcome back to another episode of Oi Tasta, the space where we explore ideas that shape us and conversations that move us forward. Today, I'm honored to speaking with a truly exceptional guest, a global expert in nuclear policy, weapons of mass destruction, non-proliferation, and financial crime prevention. She's the author of the groundbreaking book Atomic Steppe, the result of nearly 2 decades of research published in 3 languages, and the book shines a light on devastating legacy of nuclear testing in Kazakhstan and the profound human toll it left behind. She has studied at some of the most prestigious research-focused universities and built a career that bridges science, security, and ethics on international level. Please welcome Dr. Togzhan Kassenova. Thank you for joining us from Washington. It's a pleasure to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. And I'm really happy to have this conversation with you.
Okay, let's start. Your academic path covers diverse fields from international relations and politics to financial integrity and spans countries like Kazakhstan, UK, and US. What sparked your curiosity to explore such different areas, and how did you connect these experiences into a meaningful career?
I was born and raised in Kazakhstan, in Almaty, and when it was time to choose my university and what kind of field I want to be in, it's very difficult to know specific answers to these questions when you are just 16 or so. But I already knew that I would be interested in the international career, in speaking different languages, and so I chose international relations. And I thought, during my studies, I would be able to understand what I wanted to do with this degree because it would be a good foundation. You can become a journalist, you can become an interpreter, you can become a professor, scholar, a diplomat. And so just to the young people out there, it's okay if immediately you don't know exactly what you want to do. But after my degree in international relations, I had clarity that I wanted to specialize in international security. And when I was doing my master's in international security, I knew that I wanted to work on nuclear politics specifically. So the path is kind of from something broader to more and more specialized field. Why I chose nuclear politics as my career, it's because of my interest in international security, but also because I'm coming from Kazakhstan, and nuclear story is a very important component of Kazakhstan's national identity. And so that was one of my motivators. And so I did just nuclear politics and weapons of mass destruction, non-proliferation for a very long time. But then, and that's another advice for the younger people in the audience, it's okay if you feel at some point that it's not enough or if you want to change your field. And so what I did, I didn't leave the field, but I added new expertise, which was in financial crime prevention. I did another master's, and so now I work at the intersection of these two fields. And to give a specific example, for example, how do we help banks to make sure that they don't give money to North Korea, the money that it can then use for nuclear and missile programs? And so both fields of expertise help me in this. So that's how it evolved over time.
Thank you for your answer. And I noticed from our community that many young people feel pressure to pursue advanced degrees like master or PhD, and they choose for their resumes or because of their parents' expectations, especially in Kazakhstan. And how did you know that research, like your careers, was truly your calling? And can you provide some examples that you notice this from yourself?
So for me, so unfortunately, when I studied for my first degree, the educational field in Kazakhstan was in crisis. It was mid-90s. So I cannot say that my first degree was very strong. But what helped me a lot was that I was gaining practical experience through my part-time job. I worked as a journalist in Kazakhstan and I wrote on international relations. And so maybe that's another practical tip to the audience, that always try to add practical experience even while you are studying, because to me, that practical experience of working for the newspapers as a diplomatic correspondent helped my first degree, my first education. But I felt very much that it wasn't enough. I felt that I couldn't call myself a specialist in anything, that I needed to study more. And so I wasn't pressured by my parents. This is something I wanted to do myself, and it was my dream to do it abroad. I really wanted to go to the United Kingdom. And so eventually it became possible. And right after my master's, one of the professors said, you know, you are doing very well academically. We think you should go straight into a PhD program. And I had my doubts because I was very young and I thought, oh my God, you know, to study for another 3 or 4 years and wasting my youth on a PhD. But then I sought advice from one friend, and he said, your youth will pass either way, but you know, if you do your PhD now, you can also get a PhD degree during that period. It's a decision that everyone should do for themselves, and maybe some will choose not to do one degree after another. Maybe somebody will choose to work a little bit after your BA and then do a master's, and or do master's, then work a bit and go into a PhD program. But I never regretted having advanced degrees because they helped not only my career and how I was viewed professionally, but they helped my mind, because now everything is very structured in my mind, and I feel that there is no topic or subject that I wouldn't be able to analyze or explore. And that's what, you know, advanced training offers. It just gives you a structured way to look at things. But everybody, you know, should make that choice for themselves, depending on what their career dreams are, what they want to do, and not everybody should be pushed to go into advanced degrees.
Thank you so much. While I'm searching about information about you, I see a role model on you, and I guess I will also study more harder and harder. And let's talk about the story behind Atomic Step. You dedicated over 2 decades to writing Atomic Step, telling the
Around
untold
15
stories of
years, not 2 decades, but yeah,
15,
around
yeah,
15.
approximately.
Yeah. Mhm.
Telling this untold stories of nuclear testing, impact on Kazakhstan land and the people, and what kept your passion alive during this long and often difficult journey.
It's a very good and difficult question, because sometimes I feel that I don't, you know, fully understand how I was able to go through this, and how I was able to sustain such a long-term project, because this project wasn't part of my job, it wasn't part of my work commitment. So it was something that I was doing out of sense of mission, but I think I didn't even understand fully what the mission was or why I was so driven to do it. So initially it was academic interest, right? I was a nuclear policy expert. I was working in this field. I was from Kazakhstan, but Kazakhstan's case was missing from the discourse, because there were no books on that. There were some chapters and maybe reports, but not a full detailed treatment of the question, why did Kazakhstan give up nuclear weapons? And so initially it was very academic, you know, very professional. But then I started meeting survivors of Soviet nuclear tests. I started visiting um, the region near the former nuclear testing site. And that was a very profound, powerful experience. And during those trips, I think I understood what my mission was. And my mission was to tell the story of this land, which is also, it's our shared land, to tell the story of these people with respect and empathy and with the hope that the story will teach something, not only us, people of Kazakhstan, but the international community as well. So I would say the people who I met there were giving me strength to continue.
Thank you. Also, I'm interested in that you interview a lot of people during your journey. And what was the most surprising or unexpected story you uncovered while researching? And I think still many there in our communities, there are still misunderstanding, misconception, or stereotypes about this legacy, about this history.
I think what surprised me was the resilience of our people, because I've met, families who've seen so much tragedies in their lives. Their parents dying from cancer, their children being sick, and with all the hardships that they've experienced and still experience, they still continue to live and they continue to build their families, they continue to be part of the community. And I think that was extremely powerful and emotional to observe. So that surprised me. But of course, what surprised me in a difficult way, I guess, was that there is nobody untouched by the tragedy. If you go to places like Karaul or Sarjal, the settlements near the former testing site, there is not a single family who didn't experience some kind of heartbreak.
Thank you. And I would like to talk about the book. When I started reading Atomic Step, the preface really caught my attention. I noticed that how you subtly thank the universities, institutions, and the individuals who supported your research through like scholarships, lab access, and a mentorship. And that really showed how much dedication support went into this nearly a 15-year journey. And but of course, I imagine that it wasn't always smooth. I'm sure that there was rejections and tough moments too. And can you share a moment you faced a major challenge or rejection, that how you found the strength to keep going? Because also, there are students who also watch this podcast who are graduating or finishing their schools, and they are also getting their decision about the university, some summer programs, and it's really hard to know that this program reject you, and you're still thinking that you're not good enough. Maybe you lose motivation. Like, how you keep going?
Oh, trust me, I've had so many rejections in my life. So whenever you read anybody's acknowledgement or hear anybody speak or look at somebody's CV, you only see the accomplishments, the successes, and what's obviously not there, all the places that rejected you. So I'll tell you from my example. Sometimes it can be rejection, sometimes it can be lack of money, right? So there are obstacles all the time. I couldn't start my master's degree when I wanted because there was, my family couldn't pay. And it's only later on that the university offered a research scholarship, similar with the PhD, that, I had to wait for when I would get a scholarship. But even the scholarship covered the tuition, but I had to work in order to survive. And then, you complete your PhD and you think, oh, I'm such a star, I have a PhD. Everybody would want to give me a postdoc. But no, for 3 years, I was rejected. I would always get the first place on the waiting list. So if there was one postdoc at the university, I would be number two. If there were two postdocs at the university, I would be number three. And so for 3 years, I couldn't. And it was a very difficult time because you start questioning, would I ever get anything? And during that period, somehow I deep inside, I kept faith that, and knowledge. I was very clear that I wanted to work in the nuclear field and that I wanted to be either in California, because there was a very good research center there, or in Washington, D.C. And of course, the postdoc I got on second try. So again, I was rejected. I applied again, and I got a postdoc at the best research center for nonproliferation. And similarly with the book, some publishers would say, cut this book into two parts. We're only interested in politics. We're not interested in all the suffering. We want the politics, not the people. Somebody else said, oh, we want only the people, the story of the nuclear test. We don't want the politics. Or, some would say, we won't be able to sell enough copies of this book because, and listen to this was most hurtful. Who cares about Kazakhstan? And that, I think, was extremely difficult for me to accept, because it's one thing to feel a little bit kind of sad on your own behalf, but it's very different if somebody kind of says, you're 1 million plus people who suffered from nuclear tests, kind of who cares? But the lesson from that story is that one of the best publishers in the world, Stanford University Press, when they saw my proposal, they immediately said, this is an incredible book. This story is worth telling. We would love to publish it. And so I just want to remind young people that rejection is a very normal and expected and regular part of a professional path, because it's just not possible to get everything you apply for. But you just need to persevere. You just need to keep on applying, sometimes even to the same place. And the other important lesson is not to think about your own worth as entirely tied to what the outside world thinks about you. So somebody might think you're not good enough, and maybe objectively, they found a better candidate. But in general, if you are rejected, it doesn't mean that, something is wrong with you. You might decide, okay, I know where I can improve, but please, please don't think that you are somehow not worthy, or you don't deserve good things, or this job, or this fellowship, or this scholarship. It's really a numbers game, and it's faith and action. So don't lose hope, but also constantly improve, and it will become easier and easier.
Thank you so much. I will keep in mind these words. Let's talk about the financial crime prevention, about your job. Many young people don't realize how financial systems affect global security. And what's one key thing about financial literacy you wish everyone, especially in those next generation, and who are gonna to graduate the university, school maybe, and the student, top advice that everybody should know?
So I must say that, what I do is part of the international security, so it's not personal financial advice. But I think your question is more for individuals, right? What they should. For me, it was important to start earning my money as early as possible. So even when I was in school, just, I don't know, 13 maybe years, I would babysit or teach somebody Russian language. It was a little Korean girl who I was teaching. I was playing with her, and then, oh no, I was teaching her English. Yeah. So start earning early if you can. And as they say, and I'm not an expert on that, but try to have some savings for emergencies, because you never know what might come up. And in our culture, in Central Asian culture, what's good and wonderful is that families always are there to help each other. But I think it's important from early age to start, to try and be independent and to put as less of a burden on your parents as possible. So if you can get a part-time job, it will be good not only for your practical skills, but also for your financial independence. But I'm
Thank
not
you.
an expert on this.
Okay, let's talk about breaking like stereotypes because in Kazakhstan and in many other places, there are stereotypes about women's leadership still exist. And what advice would you give to young women who doubt their place in leadership or research roles? Because in the maybe social media, we don't. There still exists women's in our society who have the potential, but we don't know them. They don't want to show their potential to the media, to the public.
Mm. So my advice would be for young girls and women is that, decide for yourself what you want, and it's not the society that should impose on you. Not everybody would want to have a high profile career, and it's fine. But if you do want to have it, let nothing stop you. Um, so I always want to believe, and I think that every girl and every woman can make their own choice what they want, right? And it can be, this choice can be anything they want. Um, but if we're talking about the professional field, I know that still many rooms are predominantly filled with men, and that there are some unspoken expectations that, it's the men who are more important or somehow more professional or have more expertise or anything. And I think, try to speak up if you have something of value to say. I think it's important to show your expertise, to contribute, and do it in a calm way. Um, and again, speaking from experience, even when people initially a little bit dismiss you because you're a woman, especially if you're a young woman, with time, you know, most of them recognize that, oh, actually, she brings very valuable contribution, and they start respecting you. And if they don't, it means they're truly not worth your time or your energy. And yeah, and the advice that I mentioned earlier, I think it's very important to be confident from within, not rely for your confidence to be boosted by the outside world. You should know that you're worth something, that you have something interesting, useful to contribute. And again, it's not for anybody else from the outside to confirm. You just need to know this within your heart.
Thank you. And also, what I'm interested in that you're balancing and demanding careers in several spheres. And how do you manage your time, energy, and responsibilities where staying motivated and do not losing your passion and mission?
Oh, this is something that, I wish somebody was telling us earlier, because I think when you're young, you don't care about your health or well-being, right? You are, working until very late at night, or sometimes staying up all night to study or to work, um and maybe it was fine, but I think with time you recognize that it's very important to rest, that it's very important both for your brain and for your body to disconnect and do something that would refill and rebalance you. So I think, even for those who are very into their studying or their careers, it's important to remember that it's not the only thing in life, that there are so many wonderful things that are non-work or non-studying related. And it's important to, keep on enjoying them. And yeah, do not let just your professional life or just your work life define you. And Yeah, and I would say it sounds a little bit maybe premature when people are in their 20s. Nobody told me that. And I definitely didn't care about that, but I think it is important to start looking after your well-being and health at the earliest stage because then you'll stay younger and healthy for longer. So,
Thank you. Our podcast is called Oi Tasta, which means in Kazakh means to share a thought. As we come to end our this powerful conversation, I want to ask, what final thought would you like to leave with young people who may be searching for direction or struggling to find their voice in a noisy world?
I'm so excited for the youth of Kazakhstan because I think both the country and the world right now are offering such, amazing opportunities. Young people in Kazakhstan are so connected to the global world, and I think it's wonderful. I would just encourage to use all these opportunities that are available to learn, to connect with your peers, to travel. I think it's very important to travel and start traveling when you are young. And yeah, just enjoy life and take everything that is available to you right now.
Thank you so much. I remember that day in summer, I saw your book in the bookstore, and I said that I was over the moon. I was really happy to see this book and about this topic. And I said that I will interview this person, and I did. I'm really happy for your
And you
time.
did, see?
Yes. Thank you so much. And your work is a bridge between the future and the past. And I'm so grateful for the light you bring to complex global issues. And thank you for joining us. And for our listeners, if you haven't read your book Atomic Step, I truly recommend it. I personally read whole book. It was so impressive. And to everyone listening, if this conversation moved you or challenge you or open your eyes to something new, let it light beyond this episode. Share it, reflect it, uh, share your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's the heart of our Oi Tasta, where every shared thought has the power to spark change. Until we meet again, keep learning, keep questioning, keep sharing your thought. Take care. See you in the next episode.
Thank you. Good luck with everything.